Hi, I'm Preetika Rao. I'm a model and actor from Mumbai, India, and today I have with me Puneet from Puneet's Astrology channel. He has so many fans because he makes so many videos on transits, and that's how his videos kept popping up on my screen, and I discovered him. And today he is with me. So all the Puneet Astrology fans, I'm sure they're very excited to watch you. And hello, welcome on my channel.
Hello, and I thank you very much for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to speak on Jyotish, which I love really.
My pleasure entirely. So this is going to be just a very nice, fun chat, but we're going to have a lot of interesting topics, all right, on relationships and transits and so many other beautiful topics in astrology. So let's just start. So first of all, you already have a channel, you already have fans, and I'm sure they are, keen to know a little bit about you. How did you start astrology? Because, we conditioned to think that an astrologer will be in a dhoti kurta, sitting in a temple and all of that. But it's a pleasure to meet people with modern mindset, delve into astrology, and then also have their own channel and speak so beautifully about it.
Thank you. Actually, my astrology journey, you can say, was a little bit off the chart, a different one. Although I am born in a family where everybody is kind of astrologers, and I'm third in my generation. My grandfather, the maternal grandfather, was an astrologer and a guru. So I learned most of the things from him. But the fact is that when I was reading science in school, I was a great science enthusiast. And since class 5, I wanted to become an astronaut. I wanted to land on the moon. I used to see the stars and I was fascinated by their positions. And I used to always question that what are they? Not in the terms of astrology, but in the terms of a curiosity, a curious child.
Okay.
But as I grew, as I started learning science in school and I started learning these facts, and I used to hear my grandfather talks in, Shastriya Bhasha, the Shastriya language, the way it is written there, which is kind of encoded. I used to be a rebel. I used to tell, no, you are telling wrong. Astrology is not a science. It is all pseudoscience, because that is what was taught in schools. And even if you question something about astrology, this was an aura that Jyotish is something.
Right.
It will prove you wrong and it will put you into problems. Somebody will try to fraud you. Even the science is bad. So I used to claim that astrology is a pseudoscience. And I used to kind of reject it. Even my Nana tried to teach me earlier, but I used to reject it. So one fine morning, my mom, she's no more, but she asked me, Punit, you call yourself a scientist. I was in class around 11, I think. And she said that you call yourself a scientist, but the fundamental principle of science is that if you want to call yourself a scientist, prove it. Go by proof. You want to call Jyotish a pseudoscience, then study and prove it wrong.
Okay.
So I took it as a challenge because that is appealing to me. Okay, science is all about data. So I said, okay, I will study. And she said, if you find Jyotish as a pseudoscience or a fake, go and tell the world with proof. Let the world know that it is a fake science. And then my journey started back in 2004 in Jyotish. I started reading books. I started gathering the knowledge. My Nana, grandfather taught me a few things. And starting as a non-believer gave me a very new and unique perspective in Jyotish, where I stopped seeing these planets as it was mentioned. Like, why Jupiter is Jupiter was my question. Why Rahu is Rahu was my question. What made these planets come into existence started to become my question. Okay. Then I started to relate these planets every day with my daily life. The thing is, every day I tried my best to dig deep and find some flaws. And today I'm an astrologer.
Wow.
So it proves that there is some element and some substance in this Vidya which will be there to guide you. Now, there can be faults in astrologers. There can be issues in reading the chart. Yes. But the science itself can't be wrong. And what happened is, by being a non-believer, I was not pulled by a certain school of thought. Rather, I started questioning everything. And that questioning is, you can say, is the basis of our knowledge. It's the basis of everything. So that is, you can say, my journey, because I did my engineering. That also helped me gain certain insight, because again, it fueled me, like question, proof, analysis, data. So I started seeing planets as variables, like, alpha, beta, gamma, theta. And one thing I will tell you, which is very interesting, that we don't call planets as planets in Sanskrit or Hindi. We call them graha. If you see the word graha, graha is also the one that forms the word grahana. Grahana means consume or eat. So it is something that you eat or consume. It is an input variable to a mathematical model. I started seeing in that way. They are not wanderers. Because if you see these planets, the celestial data, rotation, revolution, angular, all this is already in as a part of Jyotish. We study this in the different language. The language is different. But frankly speaking, initially I rejected it, and that rejection kind of helped me. So you can say that people who have any kind of disbelief in this science, I said, don't believe, study this and prove it wrong.
I also somewhere feel that it's the long-lasting effect of colonization, that as a country we faced, because invaders came and they wanted to just dispel, and dismiss all of our Vedas and knowledge that we possessed. So I think that's why people don't believe in Jyotish. And it's so strong, that brainwashing is so strong that people are like, oh, Jyotish, astrology, we don't believe in it. But everything, the planets exist, the star constellations exist, and the entire science exists. If you go to the right astrologer, which I always keep saying, because maybe like I have been to these temples where there are Pandits and I've shown my horoscope, and they don't really do astrology the way one is supposed to do, with that research, that depth of knowledge, that one is supposed to.
Yeah, because what I believe is that if, say, let's take like this. You want to understand what Saturn as a planet is. You will see books, you will read interpretations, everything is fine. You will have your own thought process, that is also fine. You will try to experiment it with the chart, that is also fine. But still, all that is theoretical knowledge. You will only experience when you start experiencing Saturn.
Okay.
So what I used to do earlier is that I used to wait when moon is crossing different zodiac sign, and every month there will be 2.5 days when moon will be with Saturn. So the time when moon is with Saturn, I used to sit and imagine I am a Saturn. How will I behave? Because when moon is with certain planet, automatically the aura gets mixed. Imagine there's a glass of water. You put a drop of a blue color in that. The entire color will become bluish. So even that minute effect of that planet will be reflected through moon. That is why we say that moon is a great reflector. The Manhakaraka, that means the one that represents the mind, the one that represents your reality. So one way of learning astrology is to live it. And I'm not saying that you cannot study it theoretically, but this is how I did it. And if you try to connect to the planets as if they are your friends, not your enemies, not your servants, that you will have a stick and you will try to do some remedy and they will rush to help you, it doesn't work that way. You will have to have a friendship with them. You will have to sit with them, their ideas. Close your eyes and imagine you are Saturn and you have been given all that responsibilities that he is given by the God. How will you do? What will you do in that position? Imagine you are the Saturn and you have to ask a Sadesati to give a bad result to that human. Why is that bad result coming? That means we may imagine that our life is bad, but our life is not a just single life. It's a sum total of multiple lifetimes. We can't see. We are in you can say, a three-dimensional hidden world. Our five senses can only, people will be watching this video on a YouTube channel on their mobile phones, but they can't see or even feel the vibration, the micro vibrations, the electromagnetic waves, which is actually causing them the video from a server on their phone. They can't see that. When somebody is dialing a phone for a phone call, they're not seeing the number going somewhere through an electronic, they're not seeing any spark going somewhere. It happens. So there are, I can say, millions of factors which our senses cannot perceive. But in order to experience that, somewhere you will have to know the mathematics behind it, and then you will have to imagine you are in the shoes of that planet, you are in the shoes, and then the experience will become such that the Vidya will come to you. So you are right, there are a lot of cases where astrologers are wrong. That is, I will say, true for every field. We are living in Kali Yuga. We should not say that we are living in Satyug. So, in astrology, this is Del, Desh, Kal, Patra. That means when you are sitting with a Jataka, you should know which country it is in, which condition it is in, what is the age of the Jataka, what is the sanskar. Is he because I can't ask a person to chant Gayatri Mantra into a Gayatri Havan for a client sitting in Norway.
Huh.
It will become irrelevant. So that relevance also has to be known. So there's a whole lot of, I will say, attribute that an astrologer has to give. And if somebody just has a theoretical knowledge and just tries to prove, then it becomes wrong. Because the first principle of Jyotish is that you can never become an expert in this subject. You're always a student.
Absolutely.
Because every horoscope is a unique horoscope. So if India has a population of 140 crore, तो यहाँ पे 140 करोड़ horoscope हैं, just like the thumbprints. Right? The fingerprint is different for everyone. How? Similarly, can you read or learn so many variables? No. So you have to be a constant student, and ghamand, ego, cannot come. The first trait in astrology is that you have to park your ego. Otherwise, this Vidya, you are doing something bad with this Vidya. So you are right that the faith in the people got lost because of certain mispractices. That is why this discussion is actually more important, because this will stay in this platform until the platform exists. And these kind of awareness, and I will ask other astrologers also to kind of come up and talk about the real Jyotish, which is about sanskar, which is about seva, which is about not blaming the planet but trying to know the planet. It is easier to blame. If you are practicing Jyotish, then you have to keep your ego aside. When you know Jyotish, you know that you are not doing anything. You are only a nimitta. And if you are a nimitta, what are you proud of?
Yes. I really like that. I also like the fact that whenever I watch your videos, they're very spiritual. The element of spirituality is so high. And even upai, when you give upai, it's more of mantras and, more of these very positive upai that you give rather than wear something or, like all of that. So I really like that about your channel. And also KN Rao ji ka maine podcast kiya tha. He also was speaking on the similar lines that you just mentioned, all the ethics that astrologers need to possess. Coming back to your transit videos, which are so popular, so people don't know this, that when you have breakups, it's a planetary transit that's also at play.
Absolutely.
Right. And also, of course, your current, dasha, antardasha, all of that in play. And people go through a lot of depression, heartbreak, and, all of that anxiety. And then they end up going to a psychologist, for therapy. But I somewhere feel that because I know this entire practice of astrology and this knowledge of astrology, I feel that it's more important and relevant to consult an astrologer at that point instead of going to a psychologist. Because a psychologist will probably, just give you, that regular talk that they're supposed to give you. However, a Jyotish can actually see what's happening, in, your planetary positions and the transit, and sometimes even much before your breakup.
That's true.
So I always feel that astrologers are, a better source of guidance at this point when somebody is going through a very bad breakup and emotional breakdown and all of that. And I want you to explain to my audience about how does this entire phenomena of transits, breakup, Mahadasha, Antardasha work around, and how can we just balance our mindsets and be calm about it?
So first of all, we have to go back to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals of Jyotish says that any relationship where you invoke romantic relationship between two partners and couples, be it a relationship of marriage or be it a relationship of love where then the intent is of marriage, the main planet that plays a role here is Venus. And you know that Venus is a planet of love, affection. And if you see, Venus also rules the natural 7th house. It is the Lord of Libra. So it defines marriage and married life. And a lot of people also see the 7th house from Venus during transit. So if Jupiter is transiting 7th from Venus, or if positive planets are transiting 7th from Venus, or if your Mahadasha or Antardasha Lord is transiting 7th from Venus, this kind of invokes positive outcome in relationship. That means any disturbance in and around Venus is going to create breakups. Also, 5th house is supposed to be a house of romance and relationships. Now, 5th house is also your past life positive karma. It is called Punya Karma house. It is also called Mantra Bhava. And there is a quality in the 5th house. I will try to tell you how it is connected. If you see the 5th house, it is 9th from 9th. And 9th house is Dharma. Now, when you say breakup, the true definition of breakup, at least in my knowledge in Jyotish, will be at least two people who are true and honest to each other. Or at least you are trying to be honest. Obviously, if there is a breakup, that means there is either one was not honest, or number two, there was a serious problem. Now, if we address both situations, first scenario is that one party was not honest. There was either a cheating or there was a honest approach from one person, but a cheating from the other person, or not so honest approach from the other person. Then the question arises, why person B came into the life of person A? That means there has to be some karma. And see how the beautiful correlation is that the dharma of dharma lies in the 5th house. Because 5th house is 9 houses away from the 9th house. So it means you are talking about dharma of dharma.
Okay.
And then 5th house, that is why 5th house holds the, you know, right? 5th house is the navel region, and there is Amrit is said to be in the Nabhi. If a child is born, he is attached to his mother through the umbilical cord from the navel region. And if you see the 5th house region, that is also the house of sun. From the Kal Purush, it is ruled by Leo. Because Kal Purush starts at Aries, it is ruled by Leo. So again, the sun comes into picture. So the importance of the 5th house is very high. So when we go and try to connect in a relationship, it means from the planetary perspective, we are exchanging a lot of energy. Because every relationship is huge exchange of energy. It's a huge exchange of emotions. Now, whenever there is an obstruction, be it in your chart, be it through Mahadasha, or be it through a transit, the chance or probability that this will also disturb the existing energy connection will increase. Now coming to back to Venus. Now if Venus is the planet of relationship, say this Venus is a fast moving planet. The speed is similar to that of Earth, the revolution speed. Now then this Venus will sometimes be with Ketu. This Venus sometimes will be with Saturn. Sometimes this will be with Rahu. Sometimes Venus will be in the sign of Virgo, which is debilitation. All these transits kind of increases the chance of breakups.
Okay.
Because what might happen is that first of all, you have to understand that if person A is meeting with person B, then person A's horoscope wants B to come in the life. Because nothing is random. Nothing is just out of the world. Because this mathematics can tell us everything. And yes, if an astrologer is, suppose a client is coming to me and talking about relationships, sometimes he does not even ask. But I can see. I can see because I can see a future disturbance coming in. Maybe because his 5th house or 5th lord is about to go under affliction through a transit in the upcoming days. As an example for the audience, for them to understand and relate to what I'm saying, coming 3rd of November, Venus is about to move in the sign of Virgo. So what is wrong? Virgo is the zodiac sign of debilitation. Now Venus will go down. The energies of Venus will become very uncomfortable. Now people who are in relationship or who are in troubled relationship currently might experience disturbance in their mood, in their in their mindset. Suddenly there can be a doubt. These doubts can be triggered by small events. This can be minor events. Now if we observe for this particular duration from 3rd of November, Ketu will be in the Virgo zodiac sign because Ketu is entering on 30th of October. Now you imagine Virgo as the zodiac sign of debilitation. Venus is entering from Leo and Ketu is entering from Libra. And Venus and Ketu are trying to approach each other. Ketu is Moksha Karaka. It has nothing to do with relationship. If Ketu is giving you relationship, it is giving you at a time when you don't want any relationship. Moksha. There is no attachment. Which is in fact true love, but you can say in modern days in the Maya, nobody wants that. Now, if you see this Venus and Ketu approaching, this is something happening in the transit. This is a real-time phenomena. If somebody, now Ketu cannot be tracked because it's a mathematical point, but people can take a mobile app and see Venus is in the Virgo's constellation at that time. So this means it is a warning sign for a lot of people that, see, relationship planet is coming under affliction. It is debilitated, so there is double negative. So many will become vulnerable. Now, how does it start? Venus can be the trigger point. But then relationship is all about emotions. Then for emotions, you have to connect with Moon. Moon is mind. So anyone who has a negative correlation of Venus and Moon in their birth chart will have a higher tendency of breakups in this transit. Because transits can heavily affect breakups before marriage. Because after marriage, the role of Jupiter becomes very dominant because Jupiter allowed the marriage to happen. It's a ceremony. You are bounded by, some vachan. You took, either you took a vow in a church or in a temple. So the transit's effect starts going down and the Mahadasha and Antardasha picks up the control. But when you have no relationship, as in married relationship, there is no vow. All you have is a verbal commitment. That is fragile commitment. In that case, your mood, your mindset, the planet, the transits becomes very important to understand and keep a track. Especially if you are even if you're in a good relationship, you should keep a track of Venus and Moon. Because if they go afflicted, you might say a word. Now you have to understand this transit is not only for you, it is also for your partner. It may not be perceived in the similar manner by the other person, but it might be the case that you try to speak something. A lot of cases happens where there's one small fight. There's a one sentence said by person and it is completely blown off the chart. And that becomes the root cause of breakup. Now, why Ketu is important here is because Ketu can plant the seed of disgust.
Achha.
Ketu has this energy because Ketu is, again, as I said, you have to be the planet. So if you close your eyes and become Ketu, how will you behave? You have to behave like God wanted it to behave. A Ketu cannot behave in any other way other than Ketu. So if Ketu wants to give moksha, it is going to provide that energy. So this energy will be like a blanket. It is like a rainfall happening on all of us. Some horoscopes will be vulnerable, some will not be. Now, breakups are usually also an outcome of some karmic relationship between two people. They are not supposed to get married. They will love each other. They will spend years together. And suddenly, 10 days before marriage, 15 days before marriage, they are separated. I get so many calls, so many horoscopes like this, that asking me the question, why it is like this. Now, if you go and see the chart of their chart, there is something called as bond of debt.
Okay.
Because then you both were committed to each other. You wanted to spend lifetimes together. Then what happened? Because your horoscope and the other person's horoscope, a boy and a girl's horoscope, actually brought them together.
Yes.
Mathematically, because we are talking in the language of Jyotish.
Right.
Then the same Jyotish pulled them apart. Why? Events can be anything, reason can be anything, but why? Then you go and see their 6th house. You might easily see an affliction in their moon, possibly Rahu moon conjunction in their birth chart, Ketu moon conjunction in their birth chart, and also marriage being delayed or denied in their chart. So it is more like you have to face, you learn, and then your karma is over. The moment your karma gets over, you are separated. Problem arises when we start blaming the planets. This is where Jyotish comes in picture, that don't blame the planets, first see the architecture. If it is in your chart, you will not win it. but you can understand, respect the planet and maneuver yourself around. So usually what I do is that if they say if there is a certain probability of a breakup, imagine imagine a client comes with a Virgo moon sign, eligible for relationship and marriage, and ask me, okay Punit, I want to start searching for marriage. Now, I'm seeing a very negative Mahadasha or Antardasha. I will stop him.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing the transits are bad. You are coming me at a time to ask for relationship when the future is not that great. That means your horoscope has brought you to me to give you this message that boss, don't go. So horoscope is a multifaceted approach. It will protect you, but it is also bounded by your own karma. It has to also give you results of your own karma. And then what happens with breakup is that a lot of people have these flings. You can't call breakup when it is a fling of 10-15 days or a month.
Okay.
Because according to Jyotish, it has to grow in a way that it will affect your moon, which is emotions. Two people at least have to affect each other's life. Then you can say the outcome is where the planetary positions are coming. Then the question might arise that Puneet, then even for 15 days, it is the horoscope that brought the person. Technically, everything is happening in the realm of Jyotish, all the mathematics is happening. Then my answer will be yes, everything is happening, that 15-day person. But how much can a person meeting you in 15 days can impact you? And you're talking about lifetimes of commitment. We idolize people. I'm not saying that impact can be negated or it is bad and their emotions are negative. No. But try to understand that if breakup is causing you to take extreme steps, a lot of people see addiction in their chart. Because of breakups, they start alcohol, they start smoking because they are depressed, especially young kids. Suicidal tendencies do come. Then the question is, why? Then we astrologers see, especially the moon. If moon is weak, the impact will be felt very high. Like anyone who has an afflicted moon, imagine they have a moon Ketu in their chart. Moon in 8th house. Saturn moon in their chart. Saturn moon in Aries on ascendant. Few examples, technical examples. This Venus and Ketu time period will be felt very heavily by them. So this is how Jyotish can help a lot of people in breakups. Now, I will tell the inhibition here. The question that I get is that, hey, if I have to love someone, I can't ask a horoscope, okay, your horoscope is appropriate, now let's love each other. That's hilarious, right? But I'm saying that Jyotish is not that. If you can meet an astrologer and see the probability that are you going to fall? Is there a negative timeline that you have to face in respect to relationship? Then don't start the process. Otherwise, you will be heartbroken. Do not even go into that venture. Maybe wait for some time. But that much effort you have to take. That much patience you will have to show.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is how Jyotish can be really great in helping. I know as psychologists do come into picture when things go out of hand. Counselors do come when things go out of hand. But that happens post the event. Astrology is the only science that can protect you before the event happens. It is the precognition that you get that, oh, my timeline is going negative. I should not proceed in that direction. Logically, for a very short duration, and maybe wait until, say, for now, wait until December. Allow Jupiter, allow Venus to become positive. Because if Venus, the Karka, the significator of that planet is afflicted, who will give you that result? How can you expect that the significator is down and you will get the result? If there is no electricity, how will the lights work? So somewhere that energy has to flow. There astrology can play wonderful as a great guiding tool.
Right.
But I also get these kind of messages and mails that, hey, I lost the partner and will she come back? Or I'm not getting a proper response. Then the guidance has to be in a way that, first of all, I have to tell why that person came in your life, even for a moment. Then how can you move on? How can you psychologically improve yourself? What remedies can you do? Especially moon related remedies we give a lot. Like one general remedy, a basic remedy, even someone who is watching this video can do, is just chant Om Namah Shivaya. Because Shiva has a moon on his mastak. वो moon को चंद्र को धारण करते हैं. तो any problem related to moon can be easily resolved by going to Shiva. Why? Because moon has this tendency to wax and wane. It has a lot of fluctuation. And Bhagavan Shiva is Shunya. There is nothing. So moon will cease to exist. It will be like a flat plane, a flat line. The moment it goes to that level, you become clear in your mind. There is a clarity of thought. The moment that clarity of thought comes, you will understand the existence of that person, the importance of that person, and then you will appreciate. So for anyone who has faced a breakup, I will say you appreciate, because every breakup will make you a better person. Just don't allow yourself to fall into maybe addiction, suicide, or maybe kids are destroying their education and suffering. In that case, you must know your chart. Because knowing your chart will tell you your architecture of life, your karmic pattern, and the right amount of steps and time when you should take that step. Because even for relationship, there are certain times which are favorable, certain which are non-favorable. Right. Now, if there's an unfavorable time and if you start the process, it won't work. Like imagine it is like you have bought a plant, you have bought a rose plant, and instead of watering that rose plant, you are putting water in the drain and saying you are doing the effort of watering, but why is not the plant growing?
Yeah.
Or say imagine you brought a plant that needs sunlight, but you have kept it inside your room and you water that plant daily. You take care of that plant, but are you giving that sufficient condition? Is the overall circumstance suitable for your effort? Your effort is honest, but is the circumstance suiting you? Then comes the Jyotish, talking about the architecture of life.
Very beautifully explained. I also remember this incident of one of my own friends. Once she told me that I want to get married and can you help me match, not match, she wanted the timing for her marriage, muhurat. She wanted a muhurat. So I connected her with one of my astrologer friends, and she was not on the conference call, she came in much later. But when I called the astrologer and shared her birth details with him, the first thing he opened her chart and said, "Arey, yahan to breakup hone wala hai." And I was like, but she's asking for a date, marriage date, and he was like, okay, take care. And, as an astrologer, you're not supposed to really interfere and,
the karma.
Yeah, the karma, or, warn them. If they're getting married, you can't say, "Arey, breakup hone wala hai." So he probably played it very smart. He didn't tell her that she's going to have a breakup. But when he actually spoke to her, he told her everything, like, okay, you will get married, and, he said next year. He didn't say immediately. She wanted to get married immediately. He actually described the family that my friend would, get married
Ideal
into.
Situation.
Yeah, all of that, everything. And everything turned out to be perfect. And then within 15 days or 20 days of this conversation, she calls me and says that I've had a breakup. So, but the good part is that the person she got married to was so much more better, than what she would have had, the relationship that lasted before this marriage happened. So the thing is that sometimes even if you have a breakup and, you never know, it might just be for the positive.
A lot of people, I say, go and thank you to the God that you had a breakup, because now your life will change. Not that that person is to blame or you have to go and blame. No, it's just that if the breakup has happened because of a planetary condition, and let me add here, the Mahadasha plays a very important role. Say the Mahadasha sequence is not conducive to marriage and you try to force marriage, and the transit is also negative, then it will induce separation or it will induce fight. Now, you also, when you're talking about breakup and when you are seeing two people coming and meeting, maybe the probability of marriage, there is one thing which you always have to check, that is compatibility of the two horoscopes. When you overlap the two horoscopes, there's a concept called synastry, when you rotate the chart according to the lagna and then you try to overlap. There are few conditions which, if they are present in the chart, marriage or no marriage, there will always be problems. Like say in the girl's chart, say Venus is placed in a certain zodiac, certain house. But for a man's chart, there is Saturn or Ketu placed in the same zodiac. Say Venus is in Libra for the girl, but Ketu is in Libra for the boy. Now what happens? When we are talking about relationship, we're talking about two entities, two soul, two energy coming together. Imagine it is like two beams of light joining. If there are two colors, they will join, they will produce a third color. That means you are intermixing energies. Now when Venus of the girl mixes with Ketu of the boy, the moment that interaction happens, it starts creating problems because Ketu is mokshakara.
Right.
So the nature of the boy, the behavior, as the life progresses, as the person starts to know each other, then the problem comes. Oh, he's not the way I thought, or she's not. This is not my type. You know why these questions come, and I'm talking about the honest ones. So why are these questions coming? Because as you get to know each other, this compatibility kind of surfaces up. Because initially you are blinded by all that emotions and all the good things, and soon it fades away. So compatibility is very important. People ignore this. I'm not going to check the horoscope before relationship, but at least check your horoscope. And if you are going in a relationship, and if you're honest about that person, you are confident that you're going to spend some days of life with that person, get it checked. Because then, a lot of times, I have seen married couples complaining that my life is not up to the mark, I'm not satisfied, I'm not happy. I said, do you want a divorce? They say, no, I don't want a divorce. I say, you know why this unsatisfaction comes? Because your moon is afflicted by his Saturn, and his Venus is afflicted by your Ketu. This mutual affliction is called pressing the planet. That my Saturn is pressing your Venus.
Achha.
Then my presence, sheer presence and my energy will try to shut your Venus down.
And that is why we've had this entire tradition of horoscope matchmaking in India.
Influenced matchmaking, not only that 36-point match, which is called there's different points given, Rashi,
Gun
Milan. The 36 Gun Milan hote hain. वो तो है अपनी जगह. But then you have to see that I have seen in my experience people with 32 match getting into divorce.
Yes.
And people with 6 gun, 7 gun survived 40 years in marriage. Example is in my own family. There are certain cases where gun was not matching, but still marriage happened and they are very happy. Why? The reason is individual planetary interaction was positive.
So are you trying to say that when you do this synastry, you put one horoscope over the other?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And then you check Saturn, Venus and Moon.
I check 7th house for marriage, 7th Lord, the strength of marriage, Moon for emotional and mental compatibility, and Venus for love. Because Moon and Venus and 7th Lord, these are the three factors that will give you relationship. Because marriage is not about just the marriage, it is about your married life. Your relationship may begin with love and romance, but the end game is to stick together for the rest of your life until you exist in this realm. And for that, the planet has to be in compatibility. Otherwise, there will be, there are various states of marriage. Somebody is in trouble, someone is getting difficulties in marriage, but they're still surviving. But then there are perfect scenarios breaking up.
Yeah.
These are the conditions. One transit may trigger. So I was giving an example of Venus and Ketu. Now, if in a relationship, if someone has Venus and the partner has Ketu overlapping each other and there is no cancellation effect coming there, technically, then the coming Venus and Ketu will create the probability of breakups even in marriage in their chart. Okay. So the suggestion will be, hey, you are married, chance of breakup is there, do not do anything stupid. Because the chance increases. Now, there are certain cases where we see concrete chances. This will happen. Then there are ways to guide that person. So we try to strengthen the horoscope of the person who is the victim. You become strong because everything is happening as a part and parcel of a mathematical equilibrium. You know, somebody has, Rahu, Ketu or Saturn in their second house, which is called Kutumbha Bhav. Can also see a problematic family life, because when we say family life, we can define, we are actually broadly classifying the family life. That is also a part of, that is why if you see Venus, which is the Karak of love, also rules Taurus. Not only it rules marriage, the partnership between two people in romance, but it also rules your family life, the way you will be happy, how family will interact with you. That entire domain is controlled by Shukra. So this is how astrology can actually give you insights. And I can give you an example where I was talking to a client, and 6 hours before marriage, I was asked this question, should I go ahead?
Oh my God.
And I said, I'm in no position. This is a marriage thing. You're already decided. But now you have decided, it was a love marriage. And I said, this will convert into a divorce.
Okay.
And I said, okay, don't worry. I will give you remedies because I know it will be a divorce. But if I say this, he will be in panic. So I tried to calm him down. I said, I will give you remedies. Don't worry, everything will be fine. You'll give your 100%. 3 months later, he came back to me, everything is fine. I said, very good. 4th month, separated. 6 months, filed divorce. If he would have contacted me with the chart a month earlier, the moment I saw the compatibility, the moment I saw that there is an energy fluctuation, I would have recommended don't go ahead. Astrology would have protected it.
But I think it was his karma. He had to go through
As
it.
I said, so if someone is going through a breakup, cannot access an astrologer, should not go into depression, addiction, should not think that do not demean himself. That's fine. Be it you are a man or a woman. Don't feel bad about it. Thank the person because he or she must have done some role in your life to improve your life, and he or she has taken away negative karma from your life. So your load has reduced. So pray to God that next time when the relationship happens, you will give your 100%, but you will also focus on Jyotish so that these error parameters can be caught beforehand. And then you are aware, because it's all about awareness and alertness, and rest is your karma.
So did you see something, some combination happening in the, horoscope that you felt that he shouldn't get married?
Oh yes, when I started doing the horoscope compatibility, as I said, there was a problem in the compatibility of the 7th lord. One more thing you always have to say in compatibility, that how well placed their moon Venus is with respect to each other. That was under affliction. Plus I saw one more angle to that the girl's moon was very much afflicted. So which showed imbalanced state of mind, indecisive state of mind. That means there was a huge doubt that this decision from the girl's part is impulsive. And you have to verify in that case, but he did not verify. And that made the marriage, entire equation of marriage go sour because the girl was not ready to accept. And later on it was discovered that it was another breakup story, and due to an afflicted moon and an impulsive decision, thanks to a very negative and a strong Mars in the girl's chart, this decision was taken, and the guy couldn't comprehend it because obviously he does not know astrology. But the moment I saw the chart and I saw the timeline, I saw it happening. Because one thing is an arrangement in planets in the Kundli, and the another thing is, are you going to get that output? Say for example, someone will have a bad marriage, but the timeline comes at 95 years of age. That means he will not face it. So we do check the Mahadasha Antardasha combination. Suppose transits for the first 2 to 3 years, majorly Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu and Ketu, synastry. And the moment I saw an afflicted moon, because afflicted moon is the major cause of breakups, addictions, divorces, because you cannot accept the person the way it is. And the first rule of marriage is, if you see, you have to understand that they are two different souls in two different bodies. You can't transform just like that. To even transform, there has to be a compatibility, because your energy is affecting his energy is affecting you. If there is incompatibility, they will affect negatively. So instead of constructive, it becomes a destructive. So that is exactly what I saw in that chart. And you also see one more thing, that the divorce did not happen until the Mahadasha and Antardasha, including the transit, aligned in a way that divorce will happen. That means The moment you go into this arrangement, like marriage or relationship, you will have, even if the breakup happen, it will happen at the time. For some, it can happen early. For some, it can happen late. So afflicted moon is basically a kind of a planetary position. Say moon is with Saturn, moon is with Rahu, moon is with Ketu, where your mindset or your entire viewpoint point of view changes. And in those horoscopes, I will ask them to pray to Bhagavan Shiva by chanting Om Namah Shivaya. And if you are going in a relationship, it should be a good relationship. God willing that you will be in a very happy state of life. But you have to be careful. Everybody should be careful, but afflicted moon and afflicted Venus horoscopes, if you know, the darshak agar jo dekh rahe hain, or viewers are watching, they know about their horoscope, they should be the ones more focused on horoscope predictions, horoscope matching, proper synastry, so that you are protected. Otherwise, if you get connected with these horoscopes, and if the energy interacts negatively, because I'm not saying afflicted moon can marry and be happy also. There's not a problem there. If the energy compensates. Sometimes what happens, one person has an afflicted moon and is depressed, but the other person's horoscope is such that he can become a guru or a guide.
Okay.
He has the nature to nourish and nurture. Then when these two horoscopes will meet, one will be a provider and one will cure the depression, other will somehow come out. But again, finding that partner will be there in the chart.
And destiny.
And that you can see in the chart. Because then if someone has an afflicted moon, I'm going in a bit technical manner. If someone has an afflicted moon, that means his decision or her decision can go wrong. But 7th house is very powerful. 7th Lord is in a very, exalted state, of positive state. Say Jupiter is aspecting the 7th house. Jupiter is aspecting this moon and Ketu, moon, Rahu, Saturn, moon conjunction. Navamsha's condition is quite good. The ascendant and the 7th house of Navamsha is in a decent state. Then what it means is that even you have that planetary position, some help will come. Maybe parents will interfere. Maybe the breakup will happen before marriage. Some saving grace is there, which will protect you, and later on there is a scope of improvement. There are certain horoscopes where we not only see afflicted moon, we see afflicted Venus, we see afflicted Jupiter, and we see a weak 7th Lord. And that person is trying for marriage, trying for relationship. I also encountered a situation where the person has like 7 or 8 breakups.
7
or 8 breakups.
Or 8 breakups.
That person was trying best to actually sustain in a relationship and was tired of people cheating or people leaving. All I said is, see, if you are living with such a horoscope, first thing is that you have to go spiritual. Second thing is there has to be an attitude change. What are you looking for in the partner? Know your horoscope, know the energies you are born with, and then find a compatible partner. Because something that is compatible for you may not be compatible for me. It's a very personal and an individual thing. The energy is very individual and very intimate. And you have to know that exact energy signature that you are born with to know what is good for you. And I don't think anything other than astrology or maybe Guru's grace or divine intervention. Other than this, I don't know what can tell you beforehand that, okay, you are born with this energy signature, you have this procrastination habit, you have the tendency to think a lot, you have the tendency to there's a lack of judgment, or you have this desire or to always be in relationship, kind of an addiction of being in a relationship. If I draw this map in front of the person, and if that person thinks it sensibly, lot of things can be saved in life. That is what a Jyotish is all about. It's not about just magic predictions. It's about placing you in the right track, putting you into the right position so that you gain maximum out of life. One question that I got was very funny. One person said that, hey, a lot of people marry and they live a happy life, but they have never believed in Jyotish. They have never checked astrology. What happened to them?
Destiny.
I said it's their, first of all, it's the karma, it's the destiny.
Yeah.
And take their chart, talk to an astrologer. You learn astrology, match their chart. They will match. It can't be that two compatible horoscopes are going for breakup or divorces. If it is non-compatible, then it will happen. You cannot negate the mathematics. Just because you don't believe, it's in a very funny way. I say to one of my friend that, hey, when you eat paracetamol, when you have a fever, you don't believe you will get better. You know you will get better. Yeah. Similarly, Jyotish will work the way it will work, whether you believe or not. It is just a mathematical construct. But if you read this mathematical construct, or you ask a learned, experienced astrologer about this mathematical construct, you will get to know these secrets. You will be protected and prevented. The road will be much clearer to then whether to walk or not is your karma. A Jyotishi cannot influence your karma. We can guide you, but we can't do the karma on behalf of you. That is what is your individual choice, which is again the free will concept, which I hope we will talk sometime later. The free will concept which generates the karmic sequence.
I've seen cases where even if the astrologer says don't go ahead with this person, you're so much under the planetary influence that person might still yet go ahead with that person.
That is the impulse. That impulse comes from Moon and Mars. So sometimes you have to experience the consequence and then you will learn. But the recommendation by an astrologer, be it any astrologer, every Jyotishi wants best of your life. Better, that you should live in a better way, both of you. If he will see a problem, he will try to bring it into notice. But as I said, karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Our duty is to do karma, the rest is upon God. So if we do the karma, and our karma is to know, to learn, if we do that, we will be all right. But yes, as you said, sometimes in ahankar, sometimes this fact that Jyotish is, sometimes when you don't talk in their favor, they will say Jyotish is bekar hai.
How?
You know, mere hisab se nahi bola. I am not here to talk what you want to listen. I am here to talk what your horoscope is speaking to me. You came to me for that. So if you are ready to listen and digest all that, you will be saved from not only breakups, from affliction of different aspects, career, even your health conditions. See, there are few things which you have to go. Like maybe somebody is born to face, say, diabetes, will face diabetes. But if you will know beforehand that this is the probable period when diabetes can attack you, can create problem, you will stop eating sugar. You can delay the process. You can put it under control. At least do that.
I've seen this happening in somebody's case who knew that this person was, told by an astrologer that you will get diabetes, and he didn't get diabetes for a long time because he knew it. So he did take care.
Exactly. So astrology tells you the path, the probability, and if it tells you, hey, you are supposed to go in a heart condition, and he immediately stops taking junk foods, stops cholesterol, maybe he will be he is at risk. Yeah. So we astrologers say you are at risk. So even if there is a breakup thing, which we are discussing, we will say you are at a risk of breakup. If you do something, because I always say that in a relationship, your 100% is always 50%. What about the other person's 100%? 100 plus 100 will make 100.
Right.
Because your 100% is only half of the equation. So you can't say that I have given everything, but it is not happening. That is why Jyotish is there. See the chart of the person you want to live with, and then mold yourself accordingly, change according. And there are many cases where I have discussed about the compatibility after marriage, and I said, see, this is how it is going to be. If you accept it and be at peace with each other's habits, nature, basic things, you will be in a much better position. And after 6 months or maybe a year, I get a mail that the divorce has been cancelled and we are in a much better situation by your remedies. And all the remedy I gave them is a certain mantra jap, but an awareness that don't change each other. And sometimes I say, you have to change. One party has to change. There is a flaw. So Jyotish will highlight your flaws, and if you can change those flaws, and how these flaws can be highlighted, say the 7th Lord is in 6th house. right? And there is a Mars affliction. That person might fight a lot. Then I will say, you have this tendency. Divert this attention. Debate somewhere else. Don't bring it in your personal life. And to the other person, I say, his nature is like that. When he does this, do this. So there are counter energies. So this is like a careful balance. And if you see from the concept of Jyotish, marriage is ruled by Libra. And Libra is shown by a common balance. That is never balanced. There is always an attempt. There will always be either the left side going down and the right side has to compensate and the right side going down. So this compensation is continuous. So breakup, relationship, all this is continuous compensation of life. You can't just imagine that, okay, ho gaya, ab to sab sahi chalega. Nahi. That is why midlife crisis comes. Divorces happening. I get horoscopes, divorces happening after 30 years of marriage, 20 years of marriage. Why? Because you stopped compensating. You are taking things for granted. That is why Jyotish is teaching the basics of life. The very core fundamental. Forget about your horoscope, forget about anybody. Just go into the Kalpurush, basic fundamental Jyotish. Libra is ruling marriage.
Utar chadhav.
Libra is the continuous balancing. So Jyotish is, as I said, is the fundamentals. आप ज्योतिष को कहीं भी डाल सकते हो. You can eat, live, breathe, sleep astrology. And it will guide you like anything. That is why, according to me, it is a Mahavidya. Yes. I don't know about that, but others, but according to me, it is a Mahavidya. It has guided me always. And it is like a guardian. It protects you, it defends you. And this Libra, because it is a continuous balance, when you are trying for each other, when you are continuously working for each other, automatically your life will be sorted. But when Venus gets afflicted, this balance gets unbalanced. Which is going to happen now in the month of November when Venus is with Ketu. These Libra energies are going to be going haywire. Because Venus don't like Ketu. Because Venus Ketu is more like a spiritual love, a hermit love. Like a bhakt loving Shiva. Okay. You have lost yourself. How many people will love like this?
So when somebody is going through a rough patch but is not in a position to take a divorce because बहुत late हो चुका है, relationship बहुत पुराना हो चुका है, बच्चे हैं and all of that, to them your advice will be take good guidance from an astrologer and do upay that can act like a medicine.
First thing I will ask them is, first of all, observe from the Kundali, is there a bad rough patch of Mahadasha or Antardasha? Sometimes there is a 6-7 months or a year patch. Say for example, somebody is going in Rahu Mahadasha and Ketu Antardasha. So this will be more like an 11-12 months rough patch. If you are there, I ask them to wait and do remedies. And remedies are mostly karmic remedies, which will work for a general person. See, mantras are really helpful. But then, if you cannot, a lot of people will say, sir, I don't have time for mantra jap. Busy people, working. I say, okay, how will you do a solution? You don't want to do anything, but you want a solution. Nothing will happen, you will have to follow the timeline then. But if you can do something, if mantras are not possible, because Bij mantras are widely misused. Without the guidance of a guru, if you start doing Bij mantra, it is like running with one hand you have a fire stick, on the other hand you have a can of petrol and you are dancing. Anything can happen. Without the proper guidance, this is highly inflammable. But there are certain mantras which are like Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and people think these are general mantras. No. You are praying to the Supreme God. Trust these mantras. But what about the karma? Marriage is not about sitting together and doing mantra jap 24/7. That is not possible. You will do the mantra jap, this will change your attitude, this will bring the sattvic energy within you. But where is the attitude? Until you know the planet, until you know fully what this planet is capable to do in your life, you will not be able to come out of that. That is when we as an astrologer will tell, okay, Mercury is 8th house away from your 7th lord. There will be communication issues. There will be, okay, with respect to disease, okay, there will be this disease. Do not take any stress because it can affect your neurological issue. So, depending upon the age, position, their current status, what is the intensity it can be, that is highly relative to the chart. But this is how we can suggest that take control of your life. So Jyotish is going to give you that control of life which you always wanted. People crave for that control. But for that, you will have to become a friend to the planets. You can't blame them. You can't blame Saturn for literally being Saturn. You can't blame Rahu for being Rahu. It's like blaming the Bhagwan Vishnu because he's the one who placed these planets as the Navagraha. So are you blaming Bhagwan Vishnu? So Mercury also can be corrected by helping poor students, orphans. So these are the few remedies by which we can target a planet then through karma. Because see, there are loans, karmic loans, which you will have to repay. But you can request God, you can request the universe that let me repay in this manner. So what will happen? The quantum is the same. But if you start repaying honestly, that will come under the that will come under pashatap. What is the right word? Repent? Or and once you start doing it consciously, you elevate your consciousness. You become a higher person. You become a higher individual. You grow. At that ascension. This is what the ascension is. So astrology is like that ocean where you can define every concept of spirituality through Jyotish.
And create a balance.
Nice.
Very nice. So what a wonderful and enlightening episode this has been with you, Puneet ji. Thank you so much for this. And I'm sure whoever has watched this and who's going through all these multiple problems we've discussed in many parts about relationship and about addictions and Rahu, Ketu, all of that. I just hope that your seekers find some solace and solution to their problems. And you can follow Puneet ji on his channels. And would you like to tell them your channel? We'll also put it down here.
You can search me by the name Puneet Astrology. And you can follow me and Preetika ji's channel.
On that note, lots of love and put your comments for all of us. I mean, for me and Puneet, because we'll read it. And if there are any other comments that you have for him, maybe we can do another round and answer them for you. Lots of love.